There's a reason the chosen ones often walk alone. It's not because they're antisocial, arrogant, or detached from the world. It's because their path demands a level of discipline and self-awareness most people will never understand. When you are chosen, you feel the weight of your calling every single day. You start to see the world differently. You stop chasing validation and start chasing purpose. And that's when the distance begins. The truth is, solitude isn't punishment, it's preparation. When you walk alone, you learn who you are without the noise, without the crowd, without applause. You start realizing that strength doesn't come from being surrounded. It comes from standing firm when no one else stands with you. The chosen man doesn't fear being alone. He respects it, because in that silence he hears his own voice. In that isolation he finds his direction, and in that journey, the lonely, unglamorous, often misunderstood journey, he becomes unstoppable. So today, I want to talk about why the chosen man always walks alone, and why that solitude is not his weakness, it's his greatest weapon. Solitude is not isolation, it's transformation. When a man chooses to walk alone, he's not cutting himself off from the world, he's stepping into a higher version of himself. It's not about loneliness, it's about clarity. Most people are terrified of being alone because they've never met themselves in silence. They don't know who they are without the constant hum of distractions, validation, or company. But the chosen man, he learns to stand still in that silence. He learns to listen to his own thoughts, to understand his patterns, to recognize his weaknesses, and to master them. He knows that solitude is not a void to escape, but a forge where strength is created. When you are constantly surrounded by people, opinions, and noise, it's easy to lose your sense of self. You start absorbing the energy around you, adopting beliefs that aren't yours, and chasing things that have nothing to do with your calling. Solitude strips all that away. It removes the masks you wear for acceptance and forces you to confront what's real. It teaches you how to rely on your own mind, your own intuition, and your own discipline. It's in those quiet moments that transformation begins, not the kind that happens overnight, but the slow, powerful kind that rewires how you think, feel, and act. Every man who has ever achieved something extraordinary has walked through that valley of solitude. It's where vision becomes clear and commitment becomes real. In isolation, there's no audience to impress, no applause to chase, only you and your purpose. That's where the chosen man discovers what truly matters. He stops asking, "What do people think of me?" and starts asking, "Who am I becoming?" That shift is where transformation starts. Because when you stop trying to be seen, you start trying to be solid. You start focusing on your foundation instead of your facade. There's also pain in solitude, deep, uncomfortable, confronting pain. And that's the point. Growth doesn't happen in comfort. The chosen man understands that the discomfort of being alone is a test. It's meant to strip away the dependencies, the excuses, and the illusions. It's in those moments of stillness that you see the parts of yourself that need to change. You face your fears, your insecurities, your doubts, and instead of running, you learn to manage them. That's transformation, not because you suddenly become fearless, but because you stop letting fear control you. Solitude teaches strength, but more importantly, it teaches peace. When you are alone and content, no one can use loneliness to manipulate you. You become unshakable because you no longer need constant reassurance. You stop reacting and start responding. You develop emotional control, patience, and resilience, qualities that can't be built in a crowd. You start to realize that solitude doesn't make you disconnected. It makes you deeply connected to your purpose, your vision, and your values. In a world where everyone seeks attention, the chosen man seeks alignment. He doesn't chase validation, he cultivates power within himself. That power comes from solitude, the quiet hours when no one is watching, the moments when doubt whispers but discipline answers louder. It's in that space between silence and action that he evolves into who he's meant to be. Solitude transforms him because it removes everything false and leaves only what's real. It's not isolation, it's initiation. The chosen man values purpose over popularity. He understands that living a meaningful life doesn't always align with being liked, praised, or accepted by others. In a world obsessed with approval and attention, he moves differently. He isn't chasing the spotlight, he's chasing the mission. When he wakes up in the morning, his first thought isn't about who's watching or what they'll think. It's about whether he's doing what he was meant to do. That focus gives him direction. It gives him peace. Because when your life is driven by purpose, you stop needing external validation to feel valuable. Popularity is built on perception, but purpose is built on truth. The chosen man knows that popularity fades as quickly as it comes. One day they cheer, the next day they criticize. He doesn't bend to the opinions of others because he knows the cost. You lose yourself trying to please everyone. He's not here to be universally understood. He's here to be authentic. And authenticity requires sacrifice. Sometimes that means walking away from people, environments, and habits that once felt comfortable. It means making choices that others won't understand, not because they're wrong, but because they don't see the vision. A man who lives by purpose stands on principles, not popularity polls. He's grounded in his why. That why becomes his compass when life gets confusing. While others drift from trend to trend, he stays steady, moving towards something greater than himself. It doesn't mean he doesn't feel the sting of being misunderstood or rejected. He just doesn't let it derail him. He's learned that you can't live with both conviction and constant approval. One will always cost you the other. The chosen man chooses conviction because he understands that popularity may fill your ego, but purpose fills your soul. The path of purpose isn't glamorous. It's full of nights where no one claps for you, where your progress goes unseen, and where your sacrifices go unrecognized. But that's where the chosen man's power grows. He doesn't need applause to keep going. His drive comes from within. He knows that true impact rarely looks like instant success. It's quiet, slow, and often lonely. But in that process, he builds something unbreakable: integrity. The man who values purpose over popularity never has to pretend. His actions match his words match his values, and his values guide every decision. The crowd loves trends, the chosen man loves truth. He knows that being popular often means being predictable, while purpose demands courage. It's easy to go with the flow, to say what everyone agrees with, to post what everyone praises. But it takes strength to stand for something even when it costs you approval. The chosen man understands that leadership isn't about being followed by many, it's about being guided by meaning. He's not afraid to lose attention because he's focused on leaving a legacy. In a culture that rewards visibility, the chosen man chooses vision. He doesn't measure his worth by how many people know his name, but by how many lives his purpose touches, even if it's just one. Popularity may open doors, but purpose builds paths. And those paths lead to fulfillment that no amount of recognition can buy. The chosen man doesn't live to impress, he lives to impact. He knows that the loudest life isn't always the most powerful one. The one anchored in purpose always is. Discomfort and rejection are the training grounds for greatness. Every man who has ever risen above the ordinary has had to endure moments that tested his strength, his belief, and his patience. The chosen man understands that the path to purpose isn't paved with comfort, it's built through resistance. Growth demands friction. Every challenge, every setback, every no he's ever received is not a punishment but preparation. Life doesn't hand greatness to those who stay safe. It reveals it to those who are willing to struggle, to fail, and to keep moving forward anyway. Discomfort is the teacher that comfort could never be. It strips away illusions and exposes what's real. When you're uncomfortable, you see what you're made of. You find out how deep your courage runs, how much pain you can handle, and how strong your spirit truly is. The chosen man doesn't avoid that discomfort, he walks straight into it. He knows that every time he pushes beyond what's familiar, he becomes sharper, wiser, and more capable. The average man runs from what hurts, the chosen man leans in. Because he knows that's where transformation hides. Rejection is another test, one that breaks the weak and builds the strong. Being told no, being overlooked, being doubted, these experiences cut deep, but they also carve strength. The chosen man doesn't take rejection as a reflection of his worth. He takes it as redirection towards something better. He learns that sometimes doors close because he's meant to build his own. He doesn't chase acceptance because he understands that rejection is part of the refinement process. Every no sharpens his focus. Every loss strengthens his resolve. Rejection doesn't make him bitter, it makes him unbreakable. The chosen man's journey is not meant to be easy, it's meant to reveal his endurance. When he's rejected, he learns humility. When he's uncomfortable, he learns resilience. These lessons can't be taught in comfort, they can only be lived through hardship. Discomfort shows him who he is when things don't go his way. It teaches him that strength isn't found in winning, it's found in continuing. Greatness is not about how you perform when everything is smooth. It's about how you stand when everything falls apart. The chosen man knows that true power comes from perseverance, not perfection. Most people spend their lives trying to avoid pain, but the chosen man embraces it as part of the process. He understands that discomfort doesn't destroy him, it develops him. Rejection doesn't block him, it builds him. Every failure becomes feedback, every setback becomes strategy. He starts to view obstacles not as stop signs, but as signals that he's moving in the right direction. Because growth only happens in the tension between what is and what could be. That tension, that discomfort, is where greatness is born. There's a moment in every chosen man's life when he realizes that the very things that hurt him the most were the things that shaped him the best. The pain that once made him doubt himself becomes the reason he believes in himself now. The rejection that once made him question his path becomes the fire that drives him to prove his purpose. The chosen man doesn't ask for the easy road, he asks for the real one. Because he knows that comfort breeds complacency and discomfort breeds power. Rejection humbles him, challenges sharpen him, and through every trial he becomes more than he was before. Greatness isn't found in what's easy, it's found in what's earned. Walking alone builds inner authority no crowd can give. The chosen man learns early that real power doesn't come from being surrounded by others, it comes from mastering himself. When he walks alone, he isn't seeking approval, applause, or validation. He's learning to lead himself first. That's the foundation of true authority. Because if a man can't guide his own thoughts, emotions, and decisions, he'll always be swayed by the world around him. Solitude gives him the space to listen to his own voice, to understand his convictions, and to build the kind of strength that can't be shaken by noise or opinion. When you walk alone, you begin to realize how much of your identity was tied to other people's expectations. You see where you've been compromising to fit in, where you've been quiet to avoid judgment, and where you've been shrinking to make others comfortable. The chosen man stops doing that. He begins to move with purpose, not permission. Walking alone teaches him that self-respect isn't something he asks for, it's something he earns by staying true to what he believes even when no one's watching. That kind of integrity creates an internal authority that no title or approval can provide. Crowds can make you feel powerful for a moment, but they can take that power away just as fast. One day they support you, the next they criticize you. Their loyalty is conditional. The chosen man understands this and refuses to let his confidence depend on it. His authority comes from within, built through discipline, consistency, and the courage to stand by his principles. When he's alone, he faces himself without distraction. He learns to control his impulses, manage his emotions, and make decisions that align with his mission, not his moods. That control becomes power, quiet, steady, unbreakable power. Walking alone also teaches discernment. Without the constant noise of others' voices, the chosen man starts hearing his intuition more clearly. He recognizes what feels right and what doesn't. He no longer needs to be told who he is or what he should do. He becomes his own compass, and once you develop that inner compass, no one can manipulate you with fear, doubt, or temptation. The chosen man walks alone not because he thinks he's better than others, but because he knows he needs that solitude to build authority over himself. You can't lead others until you can lead yourself. The world tries to convince people that being alone is weakness, but the chosen man knows it's the opposite. Weakness is needing to be constantly surrounded just to feel valuable. Strength is being alone and still feeling complete. In solitude, he learns that authority isn't about dominance, it's about discipline. It's about mastering your reactions when things don't go your way. It's about holding your ground when you're misunderstood. It's about not letting fear make your choices for you. Those lessons can't be learned in a crowd. They're forged in silence, in struggle, and in self-reflection. By walking alone, the chosen man becomes someone others can trust and follow, not because he demands respect, but because he embodies it. His words carry weight because they come from experience, not theory. His actions inspire because they're consistent, not performative. He doesn't chase influence, he builds credibility, and that credibility is the purest form of authority there is. The crowd may celebrate him one day and turn away the next, but it doesn't matter. His strength doesn't depend on them. It comes from the man he became when no one was watching, when no one believed, and when he stood alone. Silence reveals the truth that noise tries to hide. The chosen man understands that in a world full of endless opinions, constant chatter, and relentless distractions, silence isn't emptiness, it's wisdom. When he withdraws from the noise, he begins to hear things he could never notice before. He hears the quiet voice of intuition that's often drowned out by external influence. He starts to notice patterns in his thinking, his emotions, and his behavior. He sees his truth, not the one society imposes, not the one others expect, but the one that's raw, unfiltered, and real. That's where clarity lives, in silence. Most people fear silence because it confronts them with themselves. It exposes what they've been running from: the doubt, the regret, the insecurity, the truth they don't want to face. Noise is easier. It keeps the mind busy and the heart distracted. But the chosen man doesn't run from silence, he seeks it. He knows that silence isn't the absence of sound, it's the presence of understanding. It's the space where he can think clearly, reflect honestly, and make choices that align with who he truly is. In silence, he doesn't just hear himself, he meets himself. The noise of the world will always try to tell you who you are and what you should want. It's full of voices that project their fears, their limitations, their expectations onto you. But when you sit in silence, all those voices fade, and what remains is truth, your truth. That's what the chosen man values. He realizes that external noise can manipulate, but internal awareness liberates. Silence teaches him how to separate his real desires from the ones he's been conditioned to chase. It's in those moments of stillness that he reconnects with his purpose, his direction, and his strength. Silence is also where emotional mastery begins. In noise, emotions react. In silence, they reveal. The chosen man learns to sit with discomfort without needing to escape it. He allows himself to feel anger, sadness, confusion, but he doesn't let those feelings dictate his actions. He observes them, understands them, and releases them. That's emotional intelligence, and it's born in quiet reflection. When he learns to control his internal world, the external world loses its power to control him. That's what silence gives him: sovereignty over his mind and peace in his soul. In silence, the chosen man learns patience. He understands that not every problem needs an immediate answer, not every attack needs a reaction, and not every moment needs to be filled. He learns to wait, to watch, and to trust that clarity comes with stillness. The world glorifies speed, but the chosen man values precision. Silence gives him the time to think deeply and act deliberately. It sharpens his intuition and strengthens his decision-making. While others rush to speak, he pauses to understand. While others react to noise, he responds to truth. When the chosen man walks through life with that level of awareness, he becomes unshakable. He doesn't get lost in chaos because he carries calm within him. His silence speaks louder than other people's noise because it comes from a place of certainty. People notice it, the quiet confidence, the grounded energy, the discipline that radiates without effort. That's the power of silence. It doesn't need to prove itself, it simply is. The chosen man understands that the world may be loud, but real truth whispers. And when you can hear that whisper through the noise, you no longer need the world's approval, you already have your own.